On February 1st, 2024, Blacks in Green, along with its Region 5 TCTAC partners, launched Justice Comes of Age, a 3-day event to introduce the public to the BIG Justice TCTAC, Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Center. Workforce That Works, BIG's innovative Set for Life program, hosted by Dennis Walker, Director of Workforce Development at Blacks in Green, proved very popular among attendees. Dennis was joined by James Mosley of the Department of Energy to discuss how to do business with the DOE, and Kenneth Quiones, professional engineer and project developer with the Train Company.
Numerous certifications and extensive years of training, extensive years experience as a trainer and instructor. So I want to share with you a little about what our workforce development program is, how it works, and why we're offering this training, and how it's differentiated from other programs. So before I do, I want to drive home this point. Contrary to one of the political candidates for the presidency said, slavery was not a workforce development program. Okay? Of course, I'm sure you all understand that, but just in case there was anyone who was not clear about that, okay? All right. And you see what it was. That's my interpretation of what it was. But I tell you, it was not a workforce development program. So our workforce development program is focused on the market segment within the energy industry. So you may ask us, well, why energy? Well, because of the situation that we have where we know there's an infinite amount of energy that exists when you consider solar, wind, geothermal, fossil, et cetera, et cetera. But the problem is there are social, economic, and environmental costs associated with the use of those various energy sources. Additionally, the percentage of our incomes that are spent each day or each year continues to rise as we're spending more and more of our earned money on energy. Also, the use of cheap fuels, fossil fuels produce produce greenhouse gases that harm the environment, of course, and threaten our livelihoods. The solution is that the applied knowledge to mitigate the harmful effects of using fossil fuels have led to development of renewables and energy efficiency strategies like sustainability. So in terms of what sustainability is, I'm sure you guys all know. I'll go to just my personal, the way I personally interpret sustainability is that it challenges us to live so that our behavior and actions do not deny or diminish the ability of others to enjoy the same type of lifestyle as we've had the opportunity to enjoy. But the three pillars, of course, are environmental, social, and economic. When we look at our energy use here in the United States, we see that about 40% of our energy is used for commercial and residential buildings. Half of that is for space heating and cooling. And then half of that is wasted. So this presents a great opportunity for savings. So our workforce development program at Blacks in Green is to take advantage of this huge opportunity. BIG is committed to training and certifying an army, and you'll hear Naomi say this over and over again. She wants to train an army of energy auditors or building energy performance professionals and creating sustainable jobs that can't be outsourced. Additionally, we want to provide a bridge to green construction, renewable technologies, and other green career opportunities. Also, we want to take action, of course, to reduce our energy footprint. And within the Sustainable Square Mile, we've got plans to make that happen. We have roughly about 20,000 homes within the Sustainable Square Mile that we will be targeting. Additionally, we want to create a circular economy that stimulates local businesses, because we'll be purchasing our services and supplies and using professional services from within the neighborhood, within the local community. So why are we going to develop an army of auditors? Well, according to the Department of Energy, and we have the experts sitting right there from the Department of Energy, a home energy audit is the first step to assess how much energy a building consumes. It also allows us to evaluate what measures can be taken to develop savings within that building. The audit will also show us what problems may exist within the building, and when corrected, how much savings can be realized. Also, during the audit, we can pinpoint where the building is losing energy. And home energy audits also help us to determine the condition and efficiency of a building's heating and cooling systems. Bear in mind that historically, the architectural design of buildings did not consider energy efficiency. So we've got a huge inventory of homes out there, buildings out there that were constructed with no consideration at all for energy efficiency. So our workforce development program is called Set for Life. Naomi calls it Set for Life because we believe that people coming out of our program will have skills that will be transferable anywhere in the world, and therefore they'll be able to find employment, should they desire employment, anywhere in the world. So we're preparing trainees for careers as well as entrepreneurship in the green economy. Those trainees who successfully complete our program will become eligible to compete for jobs within Blacks in Green. So Blacks in Green are going to hire all the trainees who come through our program that are certified. Now, we are confident about our ability to satisfy this commitment because of the current situation. Right now, the demand for energy auditors and building energy professionals continues to increase. And particularly when we look at what we're doing in the Sustainable Square Mile, we need a whole lot of professionals to help us out with that work that we'll be taking on. So the foundational principles of our program are kind of what differentiates us from other programs. And I've worked with other organizations in the past to set up workforce development programs. And these are kind of some best practices or learning that we've taken away from some of that historical work that's been done. So we're not going to offer stipends. Now you may ask, well, why not offer stipends? The reason is that what we've learned is that it's hard to determine sometimes whether people are there for the training and skills or for that check. And if it's for the check, it's not going to benefit us in the long run. We also are requiring a small refundable registration fee. The reason for that is we want them to have skin in the game. We want to know if they're really committed to completing the program and getting their certifications. Now, our course includes both life skills and transferable technical skills. We also offer entrepreneurial business skills or entry level or basic entrepreneurial business skills. And there's guaranteed jobs for our successful trainees. So these are the things that we think kind of differentiate us from some of the other workforce development programs that you guys may have been aware of from, say, years past and such. Some of the career opportunities, again, these are just things that we know that we need at Blacks in Green for sure. But, you know, outreach and recruitment, of course, retrofit specialists, auditors, raters, envelope specialists, people to actually go in and do the work. We need the energy efficiency project managers, systems managers, fuel switching analysts, HVAC technicians and installers, and final inspectors and compliance analysts. Now, if we look at those, most of the, in terms of the earnings opportunities, most of the earning opportunities that are going to, for auditors and inspectors and such, are in the mid-range. So you can see it's better than, you know, entry level, But we'll be training installers as well, but there'll be opportunities for them to work their way up as they acquire more skills. So some of the opportunities that we offer for our partners and allies would be support in securing grants. So if you would like to have a Set for Life cohort in your organization, okay, we will help you with the grants to get that. And then trainees who come through the cohort of your organization will also be eligible for employment opportunities with Blacks and Green should they pass the certification. In terms of what the training modules all includes, this is a breakdown, and it's about an 8-week program, and we'll cover a couple of these modules each week of the program.
Excuse me.
Your timing is perfect.
Based on, like, with the program and the training, is it gonna be online or only in Chicago? For those people who don't live?
Well, because there's a skill lab component. We have to physically be there. So there could be an online aspect of it, but you will also need to be in a skill lab. Now, we have some partners you may be able to work with in terms of skill labs that will have maybe some locations in addition to what we're able to offer.
I think that should definitely be
Okay?
considered.
Noted. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
So 2 questions.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
first one quickly is there a profile of the student that you recruit into your program? What's that profile, and are there any prerequisites
Well,
that they have to demonstrate?
great question. In terms of the profiles, honestly, no.
Okay.
There's no profile, but there is a prerequisite. So the prerequisite is the first couple of modules will be, after we get through the life skills types of things, communications and such as that, will be a building science.
Yeah.
So experiences have been my experience that if you can't cut it with the building science, then you're not going to make it through the certification. However, we will have paths that people who may not necessarily qualify or be able to become auditors to be able to do something else within our whole system. Miss Naomi just walked into the house.
Yeah, I'm gonna hijack it for a minute,
Okay, all
y'all.
right.
Hey, I don't know if Dennis told you our origination story. Did he tell you?
I didn't, but we don't have a lot of time.
Okay, well, I'm gonna
here.
just tell you one. I won't tell you the origination story. I'll tell you the punchline, which is the best thing about this program is that anyone who goes through it, gets certified, is guaranteed a job at Blacks and Green. Okay, it's no more bridge to nowhere. We're hiring.
Are you here? While you're here, talk about the benefits for our partners and how we'll train their cohorts, and they have the same.
Well, that's what you talk about.
Okay, all right. I already did. Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, so,
I'm sorry, you had a question. There's a gentleman behind this one. I'll come back to you.
I was about to ask what's the most likely hours of classroom?
It would be about a 3 to 4 hour period of time. Those are details that have to be sorted out. Yes, sir.
it's the two-part, I want to ask something to his question, for how long do the program last for this training? And also, is it going to be based on, is you going to be able to do the works of Blacks and Greens in your community, or is it going to be designed for certain areas of your footprint and where you decide the workers need to be?
Well, for BIG, for Blacks and Greens, our focus is, within the West Woodlawn area, Statable Square Mile. That's our focus, but we will go, if we have partners in other parts of the city and other cities and states around the country, we will help in any way that we can. to support your program. Yes, ma'am. Young lady, right.
I'm just curious, how many people are you going to be able to train in a cohort, and also what the expected salary and benefits once they're hired with Blessing Green?
Okay. Well, we will have cohorts of about 20 at a time. It's the reason it becomes challenging when you go into the skill lab, where you have to do the physical hands-on. So we can't do really larger groups than that. But in terms of what the salary ranges are, we're committed to paying prevailing wage or a little over prevailing wage. And to take these two, and then we'll bring up the next presenter. Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for asking a question about the certification and being able to be transferable for folks who want to go and want to be able to participate on federal and city projects. The other question I have is, are you or will you be planning to work with the local community college system and UIC to be able to develop this into a stackable credential so that you're pipelining people into associate's degrees or being able to get their bachelor's if they would like to progress?
Well, I'll just say this. Any of you that know Naomi, know that she's going to leverage every resource that's available, including the junior colleges and such. And there was this gentleman right here.
Can high school students become trainees?
High school student could become a trainee as well.
Great.
And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Quiones. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
So hello everybody, my name is Ken Quinones. I work for the Train Company. We're a major HVAC manufacturer. I've been working in this type of work for a little over 24 years. I just wanted to, I didn't have a presentation, but I wanted to touch base on some of these things, all these different jobs and skill sets that this program is, working on, being able to educate and help people get to these certifications and stuff, are every single area which we do not have enough people to fill our open jobs for. So I will say that. My job is primarily to walk into a building, determine if the building is operating the way that it should be operating, and try to identify which systems we can either retrofit or replace to try to become more efficient, use less energy, and be able to not just save money, but obviously minimize the amount of carbon footprint that we have, and be able to do better things for the environment. There was a couple questions and stuff about the certifications and stuff. One of the things that Train works closely with is we do have programs where we work with city colleges here actually all over the United States. And I'll show you just, we talk about, can we do some of this stuff online? And I just want you to get an idea of when we go in, we actually go in and we set up these labs where you're able to actually not just, you have hands-on, so your certifications aren't just a theory, but you're able to see and operate and touch all these different components. This is kind of like at the college level. Some of the things that we do as early on as in K through 12 programs is that we start to kind of get students involved in those STEAM programs, right? Where we're trying to get them to try to understand the basics of some of these technologies and how they affect the environment, and not just that, but how do they affect the comfort of all of us in this conference room, right? When we all come in here, what's keeping us nice and cool or nice and warm from the different elements. So, this is in line with what a lot of the industry is looking for, right? So it's good to get these certifications. There's a lot of jobs out there for this type of thing. Auditing, and just the fact that we're pushing harder today more than ever to be able to lower our carbon footprint, right? Be able to lower all of our emissions and stuff. And there's so many DOE and municipal programs that are coming up that are pushing, right, all of these different companies to be able to do this stuff, that there's going to be a lot of, you know, need for more people that are going to have this type of skill set. So, yes.
So if our organization partner with Blacks and Green and our students, we'll have high school students get a certification. If jobs are overcrowded there, would the certificate that our students earn be something that you guys would accept as for employment to say that they have this training, or would they have to go to do further training beyond the certification that we get through the cohort?
So I know that there's people within Train that are starting to work with Blacks and Green to be able to, you know, kind of make sure that some of these certifications are in line with what we are looking for. Most of these certifications, I mean, can be viewed as they're not specific to any particular manufacturer. So the very short answer is that yes, we would consider you as a valid candidate, somebody that knows what we're looking for. And if with like any person that we would hire, if we feel that they need additional training, then that's what we're prepared to do.
Last question, are you guys local here to Chicago, or?
So the Train company is actually a global company.
Okay.
We're everywhere. The office that I work for is here in Willowbrook, but we're pretty much all everywhere. Yes.
Ultimately, looking at licensing, bonding, insurance, those kinds of things, is that through the hiring company? How is that?
So that would be more depending on whether you choose to be more of an independent contractor versus choosing to use your certification to become an employee of the company itself, right?
So as they go through, let's say, the basic track, they can then attend additional classes to move up the ladder?
Yes. So going back to this, right? So Train has, you know, worked with city colleges across the nation to be able to develop a curriculum that's somewhat in line with what we do, right? But it doesn't mean that once that candidate comes into us, it's just like, hey, you did your certifications, you're all set. We continue to educate our workers. I mean, me by myself, I still continue on to go to get further education, and the company is willing to aid in that, and a lot of times they'll flat out pay for it, right? Because the better that our employees are, then the more successful our company will be.
Is it structured like an apprenticeship where ultimately they can move up to a journeyman level through your process?
So in some of our roles, it's more of, though it won't necessarily be at those levels, right? But you'll be an incoming technician, let's say, right? And they'll start getting you trained with another tech. Depending on how good and your skill set are, then they'll just keep moving you up, and they may find that your skills are better specialized in one very specific piece of equipment versus a broad one. But with all of our positions, it's limitless as to how far up you can go. It's just a matter of how much are you willing to learn, and whether or not you're willing to keep learning, right? So.
Thank you.
I got a question. Is there a junior college, like city college or suburbs, for different grants? Because I used to took community college in Effort. I went to first to college. I don't want to make a mistake. Did they take the grants for disabilities for the workshop?
So I don't know the answer to that exactly, how they're structured. I mean, we work we work with like Kennedy King College has a setup like this. More and more, there's this, I mean, even from elementary schools, there's just more push for these technical skill sets that they're trying to expose students to. And so more and more you're seeing colleges trying to have these type of labs where, you're getting real life, hands-on experience with them, so.
So I saw a couple years, 10 years ago, there was a big push to get heating and cooling, HVAC and all that certifications, and the black community moved heaven and earth to get 4 young black men involved, enrolled in the program. Then there was some 60 altogether, and at the end of all of this project, there was a big developer day, and all these people come in and they hire up everybody, and when the dust settled, there sat those 4 black boys with certifications at the table, and they didn't get picked up. So I don't know if you guys, is there anything, there needs to be a little, like a next level? Is there any next level? Like, how do you get private companies and incentivize them to?
Well, I would say we're a private, right? We're a publicly owned company, but we're a private company, right? So we're, it's just a matter of finding, there's more and more companies that are trying to work with the, educational process of this, just because it's harder and harder to find those people with those particular skill sets that, to be able to walk into the building and be able to analyze the envelope of the building, or what things can you do to the system, what basic things can you do to it to try to, make it better, to more energy efficient and stuff like that. So it's just a matter of, I guess, more finding, those. But I can tell you, it's hard to fill a lot of the positions that we're looking for from that standpoint. All right. Well,
now we're going to bring up Mr. Mosley. Thank you, Mr. Keone.
How you doing, everyone? Have a great crowd. First, I want to say thank you to Blacks in Green, Mr. Walker, for having me here today from the U.S. Department of Energy. My name is James Mosley. I'm a management program analyst with the Minority Business and Workforce Division. That's where I work with the Department of Energy. Our office is the Office of Energy, Justice, and Equity. We just changed our name from the Office of Economic Development. But what we're tasked with in my department is stimulating the workforce with policies, programs, and the things that we do out in the community. I'm new with the agency, let's see, January 15th. I just made my first year with DOE. Prior to that, I come from a workforce background with the state of Georgia, where 7 years I focused on helping disabled veterans find jobs. So when military veterans came out of the military service, they would come to the state, look for resources, try to find employment. So that's what I really specialized in. Met my boss at an event. She says, you're doing workforce development for the community. You need to come work for her. And here I am today. What I'm here to talk to you about is how to do business with the Department of Energy if you are a community stakeholder. The other presentation I gave in the other room, I spoke about the 3 pillars of funding from the U.S. Department of Energy: procurement, grants, and the other one is going to be research and development. Are there anyone from academia in the room today? No one from academia? Oh, there we go, a couple folks. I've got some information for you too on this presentation that I think you're going to find very interesting. So let's get started. If I go over the time, just let me know.
Sure.
A quick overview, don't hurt me too bad if there's any grammatical issues. It was late when I did this, but this is basically the overview that we're going to be talking about. Make sure you pull out your smartphone, be able to capture a picture. There's going to be some information I want you to capture on your phones also. I try to make it interactive, but hold your questions to the end. So basically, this is the mission of DOE, America's security, prosperity, addressing its energy, environmental, nuclear challenges, yada, yada, yada. Everybody can read. This presentation is going to be available for anybody who wants it at the end of it. There's nothing on here that's secret that I can't share with the community. And then within our office, our mission, and then this is basically what I do, help minority-owned businesses understand the pillars of funding to support the energy workforce and other things, okay? The first thing I like to let people know is you have to set your compass when you're trying to engage with the Department of Energy. Setting your compass means understanding where you fit in this category. One of my favorite rappers was Too Short, where he said, "Get in where you fit in." I can't help you if I don't know where you're trying to go. We are a massive organization. You have to clearly be able to articulate your industry. the subcategory within your industry. Are you in healthcare? What do you do in healthcare? I'm a nurse. Okay, within nursing, what kind of nursing? I'm neonatal, or I work with ER. I have to know exactly where you're trying to go in this environment as it relates to the Department of Energy so I can get you where you need to be. All right? Now, the first thing I like to explain is, what is a program office? Program offices are basically the offices within the Department of Energy that set policies on basically the things that they have to do. If you look at our organizational chart on our website, this is our office right here in red. I'm a former Marine, so I write in crayon. Anyways, so this is the Office of Economic Impact and Diversity, new name EJE. And this is where my department sits. And then if you go to the Office of Science, it sits right here. This is where a large majority of research dollars to do research within the Department of Energy sits. But if you don't know how to navigate this, and then in green, these are some of the different program offices. But this organizational chart does no justice to understanding how we're really structured. So when people are like, oh, your organization is so large, I'm trying to engage with this person or that person, I can't meet, or I don't know who to talk to. I can't pass out a program office's personal information, but I can get you in contact with the people who do outreach for that particular department. They are tasked with communicating with the public. When you go to our website, energy.gov, and in the upper right-hand corner of the website is offices. You're going to come to this screen right here that looks like this across the top. It goes down from here, then it scrolls down right there. Here's what I like to show people while I'm explaining to them what's going on at the Department of Energy. 17 program offices, 17 lab and technology centers. When I found out what a lab and technology center was, this is where real scientists go do science in the world of science. This is where they go. They go to our national laboratories and they're creating things in the energy space to make things better, like nuclear fusion and all this other crazy stuff. But that's where what they're doing. 20 staff office, 4 power marketing administrations, 11 operations officers, and it goes on and on and on and on. But that's how vast it is. So when somebody comes to me and I'm talking to a community stakeholder like yourself and they're saying, James, I want to engage with some of the funding opportunities with your organization, I say, well, what are you trying to do? The 3 pillars again, research. Are you trying to do procurement, which is a product or service to government, or are you trying to get into some of the grants that we put out in the public space? And they say, I want to go after all of it. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I've been doing this for a while. I have not met an organization that's going after all of the opportunities at the same time. Once again, you got to know where you're trying to go in this environment. And once it's explained to people, they can better engage. Let's see. Office of Manufacturing and Supply Chains. It's a 2-year-old, well, they're 3 years old right now. We're trying to stimulate manufacturing in America. If you look at the numbers right now, Wired magazine says China has about 300 electric vehicle companies right now. 300 electric vehicle companies in China. We're trying to, think about if that innovation was in America. We had 300 separate electric car companies putting products on the road. That's not just the car company, it's all the support companies that support it. This department is putting out a lot of money and a lot of funding to stimulate manufacturing in America in the energy space. So not just electric vehicles, but also things, heat pump, anything that's going to be make things more energy efficient. Okay, the Department of Energy is tasked with not just creating energy. We're also concerned with conserving what you have in your homes, making, like weatherization and making your home more energy efficient. Make sense? Okay, how am I doing so far? Great. I'm trying. So, you know this part, I said it several times. We operate on a 3-sided coin, grants, procurement, and then the research and development. This is a little bit about the research and development part. We have this program called ARPA-E that is doing new things and innovating energy, creating new forms of energy, and going after research and development projects that might not have been commercially funded. Okay? This one here is for the researchers, okay? And 2021, ARPA-E provided $2.6 billion in funding for 1,000 projects in research and development. 177 of those projects attracted more than $4.9 billion in private sector follow-on funding. I mean, we can read here, I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but down here on this peer-reviewed, 4,614 peer-reviewed journal articles, researchers, right? You like that part, right? And then 716 patents, okay? That's new inventions going to the patent office, new creations, okay? 760, this is in 1 year. That's one department spending this kind of money in 1 year. If you're a researcher, you have to engage. Now, a lot of times we're putting this money out in the form of grants, but there are other programs we operate with, like Hero X. It's a website where we put out information into the public space that makes it easier for us to get funding. It's not as hard as a grant. And the other one is called, it slips me, but I'll get it to you as soon as I can. But Hero X is one we put out a lot of great information on. Sorry about that. Now, this relates to Chicago, all right? January 2024, this came out, okay? Chicago Public School Buses received $20 million to buy electric school buses, all right? Does anybody know about this program and what happened with it? Okay, so to the best of my knowledge, a lot of people were saying, hey, who's putting out electric school buses? You know, James, how can I get some of that money for those electric school buses? It was an EPA program. It wasn't a Department of Energy program, but the program came from the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Investment Act. And that's the main thing I want to explain to you all, is how to understand how to go after those opportunities, okay? So when the money came out, the program came out in this first phase, the school districts in the communities that were engaged, and that knew about it, that were engaged with EPA and knew about the program coming out, they jumped on it real quick. And they got the funding, and they got their school buses, they got their electric chargers, and they got their training, workforce development training to train the drivers and all of that. And then there was pushback, hey, our school didn't get it. That school didn't get the funding. Well, you're competing across the nation with all the school districts in all 50 states. There was some pushback, they did a second round, they put out another $50 million, that was the total investment. So there was a second round for other schools, and then this is how Chicago ended up getting it on the second go round when the community had an outpour for it. Depending on how you look at it, that money came from another program somewhere else. But school buses with kids, not too many people are gonna push back on that. Now we get into the name game, all right? What's the name game, all right? The process of following the funding from legislation down to where the school buses rubber hits the wheel. Are we ready? Yeah. Okay, let me take a breather. How am I doing so far?
Great. Great.
And Gary has questions.
The money I'm taking, these are the different laws. These are laws, okay? Bipartisan laws on the table. $737 billion, $250 billion. I'm here to talk to you about this Infrastructure Investment Act. This money was earmarked for $1.2 trillion and is a law, okay? This is a commitment to DOE. Take a picture and I'm keeping moving. Look at them phones. This is the money we're putting out. Okay? And we're moving. Alright? This is the breakdown of $1.2 trillion. Okay? So $650 billion was pre-allotted funding of things that were already going to happen and just paying for roads and paying for infrastructure. New spending is the $550 billion that was going into new projects, the new spending, surface transportation and roads, doing things with the grid resiliency, large investments. This money is flowing from the next few years. 2026, it's over. The bipartisan, unless it gets extended by Congress, but the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, that's the deadline for this money to be spent. Got it? Yeah. This is what the money is going to be spent on. Surface transportation, clean buses, the school bus program, right? Grid infrastructure resilience, recycling research and other energy-related programs, micro nuclear reactors, like we're doing crazy stuff, but we're sending the money out the door, all right? Now, when you look at the Bipartisan Infrastructure and Investment Act, this legislation has had 70 names. Okay, I call it its government name, HR 3684. Why do I call it that? Because that's how you can reference it. It has 70 different names from when it went to Congress, the Senate, the President's office, back and forth and back and forth. If you don't know what you're looking for when you're looking for the name, some federal agencies reference this, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment Act, they reference it by BIF or IIJA or PBBLI. Its original name, what is it? The Federal Highway Safety Programs and Transportation and for other purposes. That was its original crazy name, and then it just got drilled down. You need to know what they call it, so when you're going to the federal agency you're trying to engage with whatever it is you do, you can recognize where the funding and the money comes from. Make sense? Yeah. This is the document of HR 3684. Congress.gov, you can download the entire document. I've read the entire document, and here's the agencies and what it says. Here it is right here. That's what it looks like. USCongress.gov, public information, okay? These are the federal and a few state agencies specifically named in this legislation to put out the $1.2 trillion. So whatever it is you're doing, spoke to a woman today, she does something in homes and houses. That's gonna be HUD. Talk to somebody else who does something with workforce development. That's going to be Department of Labor. When they're putting out their legislation for what they're doing in these spaces, you need to know the name game of understanding how they word it, because it's just another government worker who's calling it something, and you need to make sure that you're going to the agency that relates to what you're doing in the public space. A lot of workforce dollars come from the U.S. Department of Labor, but we're also sending out workforce dollars. We're not good at it, because usually the Department of Energy is tasked with other things. Are we about that time? Okay. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay. But that's how you play the name game. These dollars are coming out in procurement, in grants. A lot of it is coming out through state funding programs. So I like to get to the root of the problem. When you hear of a really great program, how is it funded? Where's the money coming from? And will it be funded next year? Or is that going to be the end of it? Okay? So, and then we're doing a lot of things on research and development also. This is an actual document. Comes in a PDF and you print it out. Remember in the beginning who you are and what you do? This is how you do it. You take this legislation, you go to the section of what is you're trying to find, cut, copy, and paste, throw it into Google. Find the federal agency that does it. Split the screen down the middle. This is what I Googled, right? 4027 battery processing manufacturing, okay? It falls under supply chains for clean energy technologies. This is how it's written when you go to, where am I at? Right here. So this is my agency. This is the Office of Manufacturing. And this, when they wrote this legislation, this is how it was written. Battery manufacturing and recycling grants. That's as simple as that. You go to legislation, you find what you're looking for based off of what it is that you do. You go to the Google, being if you're that kind of person. All right. And you said, okay, but then in the legislation, it was only BIL investments. But see, this is how you know, like this is where it came from, so it's infrastructure investment dollars. Okay? $3.1 billion for these. When these grants come out the door and they want people to apply for these grants, some of them are rollover. They're going to continue to, hey, we were successful with the bus program. There was a lot of community engagement with the school bus program. Double down, send it back out the door again. And that's why you have to be engaged with who does what you do in the energy space. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, resource page, I'm almost done. This is the federal programs, Department of Energy. This is American-made challenges. That was the other link I was looking for to tell you guys about, where you can find easier funding opportunities from the Department of Energy besides FOLAs. The Clean School Bus Program, EPA, I showed you. The Become a Peer Merit Reviewer. James, how do I get more engaged with the U.S. Department of Energy on how you all do your grants and how you do your funding opportunities? Go be a merit reviewer. Put in a couple weeks for free and learn our process. Congressional legislation. These are the laws. These are the laws on the books from those federal agencies that are mandated to send these dollars out the door. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, that's going to the IBMs and people making computer chips, and the Inflation Reduction Act. People hear this legislation, but they don't know how to engage with this legislation. When you read the document from congress.gov yourself and find, what Too Short say? Get in where you fit in. I fit, my organization, we're doing energy efficiencies with, air conditioners or whatnot. This is where our organization fits. This is the legislation we're looking for. Go find what federal agency is engaged with it. When I first found out, I never knew EPA was going to be doing anything with school buses. But they were, because it's a swap program, a diesel bus for electric bus, okay? And then, let me see. Database for how we're spending the money. American Made Progress Tracker to track how we're doing these things and how we're spending it. This is from our Minority Business Enterprise Connect Summit we did. You can click on this QR code and find our last presentation we did in DC, where we invited over 400 minority stakeholders to Washington, DC to engage with our department and see what we do.
Will you have that?
Oh, one minute. Oh, man. This is our Ask Us Anything series we do monthly when we host an event where people can meet the minority business and workforce team. I work for Shalay Morset, that's my boss, who tells me to go out in the community. And James, I want people to engage. I not just give the message, I want them to apply to our funding. And if they apply to our funding, that is how you are graded. Hey, simple as that.
Okay.
All right, this is my information. I was once asked, James, Shalonda Baker, your director of your program, came out and gave a great speech and talked about all the things that we're going to do in the community. Your boss came out and gave a great speech and talked about all the great things you're going to do in the community. How do we hold the Department of Energy accountable for their engagement and things that we want to do? I thought about it for a sec, didn't want to say anything stupid, and I said, you know what? You can have my contact information, and when you're trying to engage, let's have a conversation and let me get you to the right place. If you apply for funding, let me know. I want minority businesses to include women, disabled veteran, Native American, and all the other demographics, social economic demographics. I want you to apply. I have no influence on you winning an opportunity, but when you engage and you apply for our funding, we win because we're able to track the low representation of minorities in the energy environment. These are good jobs. The program this gentleman talked about, that's just the tip of the spear. We have wind turbines operating offshore. We need technicians to fill these jobs. We're doing things in geothermal, we're doing things in solar, we're doing things in Antarctica. It's so much bigger than that. But if you contact me and I don't know where you're trying to go, James, I just want some of that free government money. It doesn't work that way. I have to know what you do. What department? Are you doing some type of manufacturing? Are you doing some type of, are you trying to create a power generator, a utility or something, so I can engage and get you to the right place, all right? I guess we're going to save this for questions. I think that was it? Yeah, that was it.
So I'm sure you guys have some questions. There is another session starting in the, I guess, Senate 12 mile presentation that's starting actually now.
I want you to get together. 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 Put your hands together one time. I want you to get together. I want you to get together.